Hello and welcome to another episode of the SMD Radio Podcast, where we explore the expertise of Signalysis in the world of noise, vibration, and quality testing. I'm Craig Coleman, and as always, I'm joined by Bob Farrell. Today we have a special guest, the newest member of the Signalysis sales team, Mark Arnold. We will be diving into his journey, his experiences in the automation industries, and discussing some of the biggest quality challenges out there. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Could you share a bit about your journey so far? We'd love to hear more about your educational background, any significant family influences, work experiences that have shaped your career.
Yeah, sure. So I went to Tennessee Tech University, got my degree in mechanical engineering, and always thought I wanted to be a design engineer, just really designing equipment, components, and things like that. That changed over time, certainly. I went to do this automation for design for about 5 years, and then I had an opportunity to move back home closer to family, so I got into product design, designing the components for automation. That gave me a little bit more experience on the factory side and learning how things are done on that side. After a while, I found out I was going out to customers, determining their needs a lot more on the products, and I didn't know it, but it started preparing me to be more of a sales role and getting me out of my little box.
I think I also heard you say something about using SolidWorks. I imagine that came into building the pieces that you were talking about.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed doing 3D design and modeling. I still tinker with that some, keep my engineering hands-on experience going. I like to visualize things, very visual, and that to me is a way to convey great meaning to our customers. You can talk about it, but if you can really show them what you're doing, it makes it a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think your background too is pretty unique in that you come into the sales realm from the other side of the coin. So if you've got the experience, you're not coming in pushing products, you're coming in helping them solve problems for the most part.
Absolutely. So my first job, I was really the consumer, the customer. I relied on salespeople to provide me information and help me with solutions. And then becoming the component designer, I was the guy that was creating some of the components for the solution. In my third job, where I was able to go out and support and sell the components, I understood as a consumer first the value of what those products were. I understood how they would be used. So for me, a big advantage in sales is if you can add value and understand what you're talking about. You're not just, hey, here's my catalog, here's my little product or my process. It's, hey, Mr. Customer, this is how I've seen this done in the past. Let me help you with the whole process from the start to finish and integrate and make a systems approach versus just an itemized approach.
Was there any kind of family influence? Did your parents have anything in the creative world or any of the tech stuff?
I'd say not so much. Like my father was in sales. I didn't think I would ever follow along that. I was more of a introverted person actually when I was younger. But now if I'm stuck in the office for a couple of days, I'd really go stir crazy. I want to get out and really help people. My mother was a teacher, and I do find myself that influence of, hey, being able to convey knowledge to other people. I do enjoy that. So that becomes part of sales. You're teaching somebody about a product or a service or a system, and you're giving them more information.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. I just yesterday was reading an article that talked about how introverted people make the best salespeople. And one of the points they made is because you're more apt to listen as opposed to just going to start talking. That's interesting that you're a great case study for that article.
Yeah, I think it's very important as a salesperson, use your mouth and ears in the appropriate ratio. Let your ears be twice as much as your mouth and get more input from the customers and see what their needs are and solve their problems versus really guessing what their problems are and trying to tell them what their problems are.
You have kids, right?
I do. I do have 2 kids. Both of them are in college. A son who's studying chemical physics. Honestly, I can't tell you what all that means, but he's also involved with some NASA projects as well. So he's very much following in the STEM field. My daughter just started college, and she's also looking at some earth science and oceanography, and so a little bit different STEM field, but they both have had that influence.
You've had a diverse career. Could you delve into the specific experiences within the automotive industry? What roles have you held, and what projects or achievements are you most proud of?
So, and the original company that I worked for doing machine design was an automotive tier 1 supplier. So I got to see how all these automotive components were made. I designed the equipment to do that. So it really gave me a much better understanding. And this company was very obsessed with quality too. So it was very interesting to me having, for example, one of my early projects, there was one defect in 7 million. And we spent a significant amount of money to add some equipment to see that it never happened again. So that really got me obsessed with, hey, making sure products are done right and done well.
How was quality checked in that company? Was it an automated approach initially, or was it something that was more manual, objective?
In this particular company, because the volume of what they were producing was fairly high, they did automate a lot of what they did. So the little equipment that I added was for that one specific problem was something that was automated. They had an end-of-line testing for their equipment. So that did show me that automating a process versus a manual was the way to go.
As a new sales team member at Signalysis, which regions will you be focusing on? Are there any particular markets or industries within these areas that you are excited to engage with?
We'll be working in the Southeast U.S., which has been, of course, my primary focus throughout my career. And with the Southeast, there has been a lot of growth in the automotive segment, and automotive's been quite a bit of my experience. I understand the automation of that. I understand the componentry. So I know what those automotive companies are after as far as their quality objectives. I'm excited to expand into this newer field and really be able to provide new solutions for those companies.
Now, you were just south of Nashville?
That's correct. Yeah, pretty much lived my entire life in Tennessee, so it'll come out in my accent maybe sometimes a little bit more strongly. But yeah, I enjoy being from the South and covering areas in the South. And so really I'm looking forward to creating these solutions for our customers.
Would you say that the automotive industry is the predominant industry down in the South as far as manufacturers go?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Automotive has become one of the most significant industries in the Southeast. I would say right behind that is more in the consumer goods, food, and packaging. There's a lot of other unique industries down there. There's still some textile industries that are still prevalent in there. And there's coming in on the automotive kind of a newer thing is the EVs and the battery production. So we're seeing significant investments in that.
From your perspective, what are some of the most pressing quality challenges facing the industry today? And how do you think Signalysis Solutions can address these issues?
I think it's twofold. There's always demand to drive down cost. And so however they can take cost out of a product, that removes material, removes strength, and that can lead to significant structural issues if not addressed. So defects become more important in those cases. I think the other thing that's challenge is labor. Labor's been a real challenge since COVID in the manufacturing sector, especially being able to do things on a manual basis, hiring somebody and going in to do quality checks. We know that you do face challenges when you're trying to get consistent quality out of a manual or a human perspective. And getting those people to do that is where I think we can come in strongly and help automate those processes.
You mentioned labor. Does the automotive industry in particular, other than maybe above other industries, are they experiencing a labor shortage still? Because I know that's been talked about for decades. Is that still a key issue within this industry?
I think absolutely it is. And it's very prevalent in the tier suppliers also. Some of those, the compensation's not necessarily what somebody wants to do to work in a factory all day long. It's just a little bit harder to drive people to do those factory jobs. It's not what it used to be, the middle class drive. It's something just a different mindset, different generational things. And it's just simply harder to get those people to.
So have you seen or are you seeing any areas where AI is being implemented to alleviate some of these issues?
We're starting to see some of that and where things can be done to look at where it was initially a human involved. There's more thinking that can be done outside the go here, do this, go here, do this, the little digital on off. There's a lot more intuitive things that can be done through robotics, through some of the quality systems, vision systems, things like that can really help out.
Could you share your philosophy on selling, particularly in the context of consultative selling? How do you approach building relationships and understanding clients' needs to provide the best solutions?
I think it goes back to really listening to what the pain points of the customer and trying to think holistically. It's not just look at what you're offering as far as your product. Look at the entire process and understand the entire process and where your product fits in there. And your product can be a complete system, so understanding how that system integrates. It's not just, hey, here's what our system can do, but you have this process existing right now. That's how the two can marry the best way, the less pain.
So who within an organization, a manufacturer, is typically most interested in talking to you about things like this? I'm sure it depends on the size of the company, for one, but is there somebody who's feeling the pain more than another title, another person within that company?
I think a lot of the times we're wanting to talk to production engineers. They're the ones that specify the equipment, and they have to make sure the equipment operates. And they're also directly tied to the production people themselves, so they have goals of targets of how many widgets they have to make a day, and they want to make sure that rate is significant enough to meet their targets with less quality issues.
What drew you to join Signalysis? Was it the company's innovative approach to noise vibration testing, their commitment to quality, or perhaps something else that resonated with you?
I think it's for me. I've done a lot of the same things for a long time, and this is really newer to me. It's a new perspective, and I like really it's more of a, I guess, an environment. I was told when I first started talking to Signalysis by some other people that it's the people are good people, and that resonated. It was something that was repeated by several people that I talked to. It was the same thing and over again. And so for me to be part of this group and to have a family feel and being able to understand you are truly part of the team, and the technology side of it certainly is interesting to me. It's a new challenge, and I like the technical challenge.
We'd love to get to know you a little bit better on a personal level. Is there something about you that not many people know? Perhaps an interesting hobby, a special talent, or a unique experience that you'd like to share?
I think maybe within the Signalysis realm, people may not know, but my biggest hobby is automotive, so that's where I have my interest in the industry as well. I personally own a 1970 GTO I've had for 24 years, and I'd like working on improving it and improving performance, attending shows. I'm also very interested in history, so even the history of these older automobiles, there's a lot of little nuggets that I have tucked away in my head. So those are some of the things that I spend my time on outside of.
Just one question related to what you just mentioned there. Have you ever come up to the Pumpkin Run?
No, I have not.
Okay, it's every October, first week in October. It's a small town down the road where I happen to live, and for years they've been having cars come in from Canada and California and throughout North America. It's a huge show. I just wondered if you had any experience with that. It sounds like you haven't yet, but hopefully you will.
Yeah, I think I can tie that in with a work trip, maybe tie the two together.
Now, with your car that you're working, what did you say it was, a 1970?
GTO, Pontiac GTO.
Okay. Now, is that like a car that gets driven, or you've been working on it for 24 years eventually?
Well, it's one of those, the old cars are never finished as a project.
Yeah.
I've worked on it for quite a while. It's been running, driving, and then 5 years ago, I had a small problem that ended up morphing to a 5-year project. It became what we call the might as well. Oh, I'm in here, I might as well do this, might as well do that. It definitely exploded, but it's really, on the next few weeks, I hope to have it back on the road, so I'm pretty excited about that.
And that wraps up today's episode. A huge thanks to Mark for sharing his experiences and personal stories with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can visit the Signalysis website for past and future podcasts. Share and stay tuned for more great content. And as always, thanks for listening to the SMD Radio Podcast.